here's the plan for Journey Through Twin Peaks. I think you might enjoy hearing this. This is what I have right now as my provisional outline I want to take. Part 5 would be released all at once on one day. It would be 5 different chapters on YouTube and 1 video on Vimeo, but they'd all be released at the same time. And then after that, Part 6 would be released 1 chapter at a time, 1 or 2 chapters a week. I think once a week is how I want to do it. So it would be like kind of stringing the process along each week and making it a fun kind of serialized venture in that way. But Part 5 would be a prelude mostly to the Season 3 study. Chapter 29 would be an intro, talking about 25 years of fan culture culminating with the announcement of the new series. Chapter 30 would look at Peyton and Engels, the writers for seasons 1 and 2, who were kind of left out of that analysis. I could never find a place for them, but I would look at their work here. And I'd also look at the various TV directors, the directors of the different TV episodes, Hunter and Glatter and Rathbone and all of them, and use clips of their feature films side by side with some of their episodes to give you kind of a glimpse of that. And there would be a montage. I know what music I want to use and everything of like prestige TV in the past couple decades and how that kind of sprang out from Twin Peaks. I'm not sure how that would be, if that would just be like moments that seem influenced, or if it would just be clips from the show in general, and you can, draw the connections yourself or what. Chapter 31 would be Frost's other work, Hill Street Blues, the novels, 2 Twin Peaks books. I've talked about that a little in the original series. The Believers came into it a little bit. I mentioned List of Seven once, but it wasn't like an in-depth look at how his work. It wasn't clips from his other work either. There was Hill Street Blues played a big part in the Killer's Reveal episode, but just like still images of it. So I want to have some clips in there. And chapter 32 would be Lynch, looking at his entire career, more clips from the early films and the digital works, which didn't feature so much in the first Journey series. And then chapter 33 would be The Return. This would be the longest chapter of this part, and probably of the whole series, one of the longest chapters, looking at The Return in chronological order as it aired and that process of watching it. So it's almost like a microcosm of the first Journey Through Twin Peaks series approach applied to season 3. And then part 6 would do a deep dive on season 3 that's organized not chronologically, but thematically. So part 6, chapter 34 would be about, and this would actually follow pretty closely the structure I use week to week for my rewatch of The Return. In fact, the Return rewatch structure was derived from this outline that I came up with a while back for the video essays. Chapter 34 would be faraway places, so those locations like New York or Buenos Aires that feature briefly in the narrative. Chapter 35 would, and probably some of the other smaller places as well. Chapter 35 would be Twin Peaks Dreams. That's about the town of Twin Peaks and the townspeople there, the Cooper investigation, but also all of the individuals living their little fragmented soap opera lives. Chapter 36 would be the FBI stories, talking about the FBI in South Dakota and everything going on there, with them directly. I think chapter 34 would cover the Buckhorn stuff with Hastings. So that would be a little bit different from the structure I used for my Return rewatch. Chapter 37 would be Mr. C's Wild Ride, speaks for itself. Chapter 38 would be Dougie in Vegas Land, also speaks for itself. Chapter 39 would be provisionally called The Zones, and that would be about the mythology of the Return and how the different spirit world locations are featured in it. Chapter 4, so that would probably have a bit of part 8 in it. Chapter 40 would be 3 women, Diane, Sarah, and Judy. These are just the concepts. I haven't done anything more than create the kind of bullet point outline I want to use. So don't ask me yet how that's going to unfold. But that's what I'm thinking, is that looking at those 3 characters, Diane, Sarah, and whatever Judy is, can tell us a whole lot about almost the subtext of The Return, which seems like a very masculine show in a lot of ways, but I think at its heart and its essence, it's still kind of preoccupied with these female characters. It's like a post-Firewalk with Me Twin Peaks, in the sense that it may have moved in a different direction, but it's still conscious of what Firewalk with Me brought to it. And chapter 41 would be The Legacy of Laura, talking directly about how Firewalk with Me plays into The Return. And chapter 42 would be A Farewell. I'm not sure what that would consist of yet. And I would follow with a final written essay about how I made this particular Journey Through Twin Peaks a story yet untold, because it is yet unlived.